They stood on the edge of a foreign land beneath a grey, watchful sky. Thousands of Roman soldiers, veterans of countless battles, yet today, something felt different. There was an unease, an ancient dread that crept beneath their armor and into their hearts. The morning mist rolled over the plain, heavy and silent, broken only by the rhythmic beating of drums, not Roman drums, but something deeper, something primal. Then came the sound, a thunderous rumble, low at first, then rising. The ground trembled beneath their sandals, and for the first time in Roman history they saw them. Massive beasts unlike anything they had faced, towering creatures draped in foreign armor, tusks shining like spears of bone. War elephants. The men of Rome had heard rumors. Stories whispered by traders who had crossed the sea, tales of giant animals used in battle by faraway kings. But no story, no rumor, could have prepared them for this moment. Standing before them was the army of Hannibal Barca, the man who had crossed the impossible. The Alps had been his mountain grave, or so Rome had believed. Yet there he was alive, bringing beasts from the edges of the known world. The Roman ranks wavered. Veterans who had faced spear and sword without flinching now found their courage faltering. Some prayed to Mars, others to Jupiter, and a few simply stared, wide-eyed, breath-caught, as the living walls of flesh advanced toward them. The Carthaginian horns sounded, and the world erupted. The elephants charged, their feet pounding the earth like thunderclaps, their screams cutting through the air like the cries of demons. Roman arrows darkened the sky, but the beasts didn't stop. They didn't fall. When they hit the front lines, the world shattered, shields splintered. Men were thrown aside like leaves in a storm. The Romans, disciplined and fearless, now faced chaos incarnate. Nature itself turned into a weapon. The ground was slick with blood and mud, the air thick with terror. Horses bolted, men screamed, and in the midst of it all Hannibal watched, calm, resolute, the faintest trace of a smile on his face. He knew what he had done. He had shown Rome that fear could march on four legs. In the chaos, the Roman centurions shouted, trying to restore order. "Hold the line, hold!" they cried, but their voices were swallowed by the roar of the beasts. One elephant, pierced by javelins, trumpeted in agony. Yet even in death it crushed men beneath its fall. Legionaries, hardened by years of conquest, had never seen anything so terrible, so magnificent. It was not just a battle, it was a revelation. Rome, the empire that feared nothing, now trembled before something it could not understand. But Rome did not break. Through the terror and the chaos, through the blood and the smoke, the Romans began to adapt. They learned, they endured. For that was Rome's gift, not strength alone, but the ability to face the impossible and rise again. The elephants had brought fear, but fear in Rome forged steel. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn. The elephants, blinded by blood and panic, turned on their own ranks. The Carthaginian lines wavered, and slowly, painfully, Rome steadied itself. The veterans rallied behind their standards, their voices hoarse but defiant. "SPQR," they cried, for the Senate and the people of Rome. The beasts that had seemed invincible moments ago now fell one by one, pierced by spears, crushed under the weight of their own fury. When the dust finally settled, the plain was a graveyard of men, of beasts, of pride. That day, Rome learned that the world was far larger and far more terrifying than it had ever imagined. They had glimpsed the edge of the known world, and the man who commanded it. Hannibal Barca had not just won a battle. He had carved his name into the soul of Rome. In the years that followed, every Roman soldier who marched to war would remember the sound, that deep, trembling thunder that came before dawn, the sound of something vast and unstoppable, the sound of elephants. And though Rome would rise again, would conquer, would burn Carthage to the ground, the memory of that first encounter never truly died. For on that day, Rome, the mighty, unshakable Rome, had looked into the eyes of fear itself, and fear had looked back.